I've had people attend school project meetings from their car while actively driving on camera. I've had teammates who somehow didn't know the same assignment was due every single week. I've had a professor tell me, take their names off of the project. I'll fail them. And somehow those weren't even the most exhausting people I've worked with. Because after years in engineering, corporate America, and now an MBA program, I've noticed a pattern that I cannot stop seeing. There are people who carry the team. And there are people who have mastered the art of looking confident while contributing almost nothing. This, my dear listeners, is called weaponized incompetence. Not because this is about men versus women. It's really not. I've worked with incredible men and incredible women. More incredible women. I've also worked with people who disappear until presentation day. People who magically become confused every single week. And people who seem convinced that if they wait long enough, someone else will just get it done. Today I'm telling you 3 stories that completely changed how I think about leadership, teamwork, and why group projects might actually be the best preparation for corporate America you'll ever get, but still they really suck ass sometimes. Because if you've ever looked around a meeting and thought, how am I somehow the adult in this room? You're going to feel seen. Welcome back to the podcast. She's been through some engineering shit with your host, Christine, where we keep unlearning all of the outdated career and life advice we never asked for, but somehow managed to absorb anyway. This podcast is about the messy lessons, unforgettable realizations, workplace chaos, career pivots, and life experiences that teach us more than any textbook in engineering school ever could. So grab your coffee, your emotional support beverage of choice, and let's get into today's story. Every student has that one project, the one where halfway through the semester, you've convinced someone on your team has entered witness protection. For me, it was a leadership class. I'll set the scene. 3 women, 1 man, semester-long project. We had to do a recording of a presentation of ourselves. At first, everything seemed normal. We made a group chat. Everyone introduced themselves. We picked meeting times. Then we'll call him Jared. He disappeared. Not completely, just enough to make you question your own reality. He'd answer messages most of the time. He'd promise to be there. Sometimes he'd even join meetings, except he was always in his car, camera on, driving, looking at us, driving, looking at us, filming himself merging onto I-76 in Philly while we're trying to discuss leadership frameworks. Sir, this is not a YouTube vlog. You don't need to give us dashboard cam footage while we're assigning research sections. For the love of God, switch it to audio, please. The funny part, or I'll say really the more mind-fucky part of it all, is that he wasn't rude. He wasn't arrogant. He wasn't trying to sabotage anything. He was really nice, actually. He just wasn't there. Like, not really there. Physically, he was there, but not really mentally. And honestly, that made it harder because when someone is genuinely difficult, it's easy to draw a line. Like, okay, this person's just an asshole. Okay, I can wrap my head around that. When someone is nice but inconsistent, you keep wondering if this week will be different. You keep wondering, okay, is this the week that he's going to actually have an aha moment, an epiphany. Eventually, something changed. He did become more engaged. He contributed. And when the presentation came, he absolutely crushed it. I felt like he did better than some of us. That experience forced me to rethink something. Accountability matters, and a healthy dose of grace also matters. Sometimes life falls apart behind the scenes that we know nothing about. Sometimes someone simply needs structure before they can contribute. And that's the lesson. Grace should never become unpaid labor. You can support someone. You cannot carry them forever. That's a lesson in corporate America that I need to reinforce and remind myself over and over and over and over again. Because this next project was an entirely different story. If the first project taught me grace, the second taught me boundaries. 5 people, 3 men, 2 women. Immediately, like most projects that I've been on, right? It's very routine. We divide up the work, simple enough. Except every single week, the same 2 dudes, motherfuckers, somehow had the exact same problem. I didn't realize, or I misunderstood, or I didn't know. Every single week. At some point, the I didn't know stopped being an accident and starts becoming a strategy. My friends, my dudes, you're in an MBA program. You're a grown-ass adult. We're not in high school anymore. We're not even in undergrad anymore. We are in graduate school, mofos. The syllabus exists. The assignment exists. The shared document exists. You get my drift. Even some reminders. Calendar invite. How many more fucking notifications do we need before we're sending a fucking carrier pigeon? Meanwhile, I'm working full time. I'm interviewing for a promotion. I'm in a wedding that's in April. That was pretty demanding. I was making fucking Michael's dried flowers bouquets for a wedding shower. Managing life. My husband was in India. He connected through Dubai. The day before there was a bombing. I'm trying to also stay sane while Philadelphia winter becomes frickin' Antarctica up in this bitch. Also, my teammates are balancing just as many, if not maybe more, responsibilities. Families, kids. I had one person on a team who had a newborn. A fucking newborn. Crying. And a toddler. God bless her. Those 2 struggling teammates, they didn't have much on their plate. So, what's your excuse? You don't really have many. Or they didn't communicate their responsibilities. If they had communicated, but they still delivered, or, they were finding arrangements to try to contribute, that would be a whole different thing. Eventually, one person had to be the leader of the team, and not because I wanted the title, but someone had to do it, and no one else was able to. I shouldn't have done it. That's a lesson that I learned. And as the leader, that meant uncomfortable conversations, emails documenting daily or weekly responsibilities, weekly updates to the professor because the professor wanted to know who was the problem, and he was then going scorched earth on them. And eventually it got to removing names from assignments that people simply just didn't do. And then came the sentence that every exhausted leader dreams about hearing. This was like when I felt like the clouds were parting, the sun was coming through. It was almost like after a storm, and maybe even a fucking rainbow. My professor looked at the evidence and he said, "Don't give them credit. I'll fail them." I never felt more validated at school. Not because I wanted someone to genuinely fail, but because someone finally recognized reality. And that's when I started thinking more and more and more, or actually this didn't cause me to think about it. I felt it reinforced something called weaponized incompetence. It's the competence that someone else, it's competence that someone else will clean up the mess for me. Because confusion has always worked for these types of people. If you have enough people around you that are capable, you'll never actually have to do and become capable yourself. So a lot of people do this shit in America, in corporate America. Organizations reward outcomes, not always effort. If someone keeps rescuing you, why would you ever change? I mean, it's genius in a way, and I respect the balls and guts to do that. So then this takes me to my last team, which I'm currently on right now. Everything changed. This semester, my team is all women. And honestly, it feels fake. Like one of those LinkedIn stories that ends with everyone clapping. Teams are announced within hours, literally within hours. Sarah starts a group chat. Everybody responds. Meetings scheduled. Tasks assigned. Deadlines confirmed. One teammate, she even apologizes because she took 48 hours to respond. Only 48. Not 4 weeks. 48 hours. Meetings start on time. People volunteer. Everyone looks at everyone else's work. Nobody disappears. Nobody suddenly and magically forgets that they enrolled in graduate school. Nobody says, "I didn't know." Instead, people ask, "What can I do?" This is fucking the dream team. This has literally never happened to me. I have never professionally worked with an all-women team. I have never, in undergrad and engineering, I mean, there was no fucking way in hell that I worked on an all-women team. It's been so functional that I start feeling guilty because I felt like I was the one that was falling behind. That's what a healthy team does. They make you want to contribute more. Not because you're afraid, but because everyone else is showing up too. Like, that's true leadership. That is not fear. That's not micromanagement. That is mutual respect. Amazing. So this takes me to my last example, and this is when school becomes real life. So this has happened to me many times over the years, but this particular current situation, it's just another level. So I'm working with a senior project manager that my company has hired their company to do a pretty massive project. Keyword senior project manager, decades of experience, pretty nice person, but like, this is business. I don't care. I mean, you have to be respectful, but I don't care that you're, you look like a sad puppy. You look like my sad puppy when he's like needs a treat or something. Jesus Christ. But somehow every difficult task for this dude becomes someone else's responsibility. Usually mine. And I've allowed this. That's the problem. That's one of the problems. And I have dialed that the fuck back. Questions that he should know. He knows this. He should know this more than me. Processes that he's done for years. Basic project management. If I answer, great. It's good for him. If I say, oh, we need to do this because the site depends on this, he's like, ooh, this is great. He can put his feet up. And once people realize you'll always rescue them, they stop learning how to rescue themselves. And when I have slowly started to stop doing that, which keyword slowly, because I'm someone who wants to get projects done. I want to see things complete and just sometimes swoop in and figure everything out and be this, oh, I'm a collaborator and I work well with others. No, fuck that shit. You have to hold people accountable, and that is uncomfortable. And I have escalated things more to their management, to my management, and I keep trying to step away from coming in and rescuing this guy who's been around forever. I mean, he's in his 50s. Because he's never gonna realize, he's never gonna learn accountability. He's just not. So here's what group projects have taught me. They're really not about school. They're tiny previews into your future career. You'll meet people who communicate beautifully. Amazing. You'll meet people who disappear. People who quietly become the backbone of every single project. People who somehow survive by looking busy while everyone else carries the weight. That's one of my favorites. Absolutely fucking infuriating. And I am reminding myself that the point is not to fix those people. You can't. Recognizing the difference. Giving grace when it's earned. Escalating feedback when it's needed. Setting boundaries before resentment takes over. That's a tough one. And remembering being the person who always gets things done is a strength, but being the person who always rescues everyone else isn't. And that's when you need to rescue yourself from doing that. I'm continuously remembering that myself. So if you've ever looked around a meeting and thought, how am I the youngest person here, but somehow the adult? You are not alone, and I want to hear your story. Leave a comment below or call the STEM podcast hotline at 267-281-3633. That's 267-281-3633 with your most chaotic workplace or school project story. Ask questions that you have or advice that you need. Feel free to rant. We all have rage. I could go off. And it might even be featured in a future episode. If you've enjoyed this episode, follow the podcast, because next time we're talking about another career lesson that nobody prepares you for. Until next time, keep questioning the outdated career advice we all somehow inherited but never asked for. And remember, experience and competence are not always the same thing. Catch you next time.